So our purpose is to spend the next few minutes telling you everything we think you ought to know about what's going on in Midtown and what we're up to. We're going to move quickly. It's going to be highly visual. I'm not going to bombard you with 60 PowerPoint slides. I'm going to bombard you with 59 PowerPoint slides, which is just enough. Within the work that we're doing, well, first of all, we want to just give you an idea of the scope and scale of the development that you can see out your windows in Midtown, just what's going on, and we've got that visually represented in some pretty dynamic visuals I think you've seen before. And then we're going to talk about what we're doing every day to create this exceptional urban experience that we know as Midtown, and that's going to be talking about enhancement projects, those that are either under construction or ready to start construction or in planning. We're going to talk about activation and programming and events to really bring these spaces to life, the Owl Parade being one of those. And we're going to talk about our efforts to ensure that everybody, workers, residents, visitors, see Midtown as a safe and a welcoming place. So we've asked for your questions in advance when you registered, so thank you. I'm structuring my remarks around trying to answer as many of those questions as we can, then we'll go into Q&A, and then we'll break, and then you'll be able to go to different boards and talk to some of our team members that have set up these stations in the room to talk further. So private investment in Midtown. If there's ever an image that really nails it, it's that one. That's the last 10 years of development activity in 1.2 square miles of Midtown. Everything in blue has been delivered. Everything in green is under construction currently. And everything in orange has cleared the development review process. That means those are not projects that are hoped for, wished for. Those are projects that are down the line that have gone to the DRC. We update this image a lot. If it's more than a week old, it's missing something. You're probably missing a lot of buildings that are sitting behind other buildings, but I know of no 1 square mile on the planet that's seen this level of activity just in the last 10 years. I can tell you, just last year and through the end of this year, Midtown will have delivered 4 million square feet of office, 5,000 new residential units, 1,000 new hotel keys. That's just last year to the end of this year. That also includes over 30,000 new job announcements just in the last 6 or 7 years. And while we've been through an interesting last 2.5 years, development momentum really hasn't cooled. And if you want to hit the rewind button and roll back to around 2000, that's what's changed in Midtown. This is what's happened in Midtown just in the last 20-something years, 22, 23 years. That's over 100 buildings that have been delivered. But lest you think that Midtown is built out, we ran the numbers and we looked at, for example, 1-story buildings that are likely to get redeveloped, parking lots, vacant land. If you total all that up, there's over 100 acres of land that's left to be developed in this 1.2 square mile area, which even surprised me. It's not all going to be on a major corridor. Some of the sites are going to be challenging. Some of the sites are going to be on MARTA Station property. Look at the Art Center MARTA Station, it's sitting on over 5 acres of land. There's active efforts to do transit-oriented development over MARTA Stations, North Avenue and Art Center. But it's not game over, it's not even 4th inning. I'm not sure. So there's a lot left to be done. Takeaway message, Midtown is far from built out. To that end, our team has just updated what we call our Midtown Owner's Manual. In Midtown, the relationship of a building to the street is our primary objective. That is our biggest priority. So we've got a document, this is developed in-house by our team. It's got chapters on access and entries and facades and open spaces and supplemental zones and diagrams on what we're trying to achieve. It's really meant as an inspiration document, but also as a document that answers questions from the development community in terms of of our special zoning that we put in place 20 years ago that has resulted in a lot of the amazing development that we've gotten that's really created a positive street level experience. So you can keep track of the new development that's happening in Midtown on our resource page. That document is never more than 2 or 3 weeks old. If you follow along with the development review committee that we've staffed and that's governed by a group of volunteers, pretty much the stuff they talk about is what's within the 4 corners of this owner's manual. So if you ever want a deeper insight in terms of the kind of development we're trying to see, this is a good read, and it's on our website. This is just one of the things that we do as the Midtown Alliance. We are now over 50 full-time employees. About half of those people work in what we call our street team, which are our Midtown Blue and Midtown Green teams, keeping Midtown safe, welcoming, looking great. And the rest do everything from urban design, as you just saw, to building streetscape projects, to parks, plazas, activation, marketing, communications, member engagement, events, working with 130 employers on commute options program and encouraging employees to ride transit. It really is the full range. I will tell you that from my perspective, we got the best team on earth that's doing this work, and I'm doing everything in my power to keep it that way. Thank you for your support. So we'll first talk about the stuff we're building. This is one that we just did open up, I guess within the week. This is Peachtree Place at Peachtree Street. This is what happens when you repurpose some parking spaces. You make this where the streets aligned. You used to have to jog over if you were going westbound on Peachtree Place. Planted some large caliber trees, one of which it looks like we've already lost, but that'll be replaced. It's got a warranty. It's not fall. But catenary lines, and if you look at the upper right-hand corner, what do you see? A flock of starlings. A highly social group of birds, often seen in large gatherings, swooping through the Georgia sky in intricately coordinated, and I would add colorful patterns. And then check out the shade image that they make on the sidewalk at high noon. It's kind of cool. Now, some have asked, would you be comfortable? And by the way, the furniture's not out yet. Everything is on back order. We know what the supply chain is looking like these days. So I'm going to be showing you pictures of public space that we're doing. It looks a little barren right now, and in a lot of cases we're putting out plastic Adirondacks just to kind of hold the line, but there'll be really nice tables and chairs here. People that are nervous putting their plate, below a group flock of birds don't need to worry. These are perfectly safe. If they poop anything, they poop Skittles, I think. This is what $1 million buys you. This is 100% funded by the Midtown Improvement District. Long time coming. A lot of coordination needed to happen, but we really are appreciative of the immediate neighbors for letting this thing happen. Next up, parklets. These were orphaned parking spaces between 8th and Peachtree Place on Spring Street. So these have just been completed. It's about a $100,000 project, believe it or not. Treated lumber is not as cheap as it used to be. Again, temporary Adirondacks. There's going to be really neat kind of counter height benches and tables that are incorporated into this. Adjacent property owners are really excited. This is right across the street from the Publix, just to kind of orient you as to where we are right here on the west side of Spring Street. More to come. I would just say thanks to Whiting Turner that did a lot of pro bono support and construction management to help get this project done. 15th Street Arts District Plaza. This is another refresh where the furniture actually has come in. This is a refreshed plaza on this side of the street next to Colony Square. This is a Jazz on the Plaza event that we had back in May every Tuesday from 5 to 7. We usually had about 100 people showing up, so it was a neat thing. And then right across the street, this is an under construction photograph, but this project is done, but now it's construction fenced because Cousins is currently underway with the refresh of the old Norfolk Southern office building known as 1200 Peachtree Street. So wait till that opens up with the street level retail that spills out onto this hardscape pedestrian plaza. We've got Sabine Woman relocated. It's going to really be striking. Another project under construction, this is the Art Walk. So this is right between the Federal Reserve building on 10th Street and 1010th, the office building, where the Consulate restaurant is. This is under construction. This is what we call phase 1. This is at 10th. It's going to go all the way to 13th, and it's going to cut across on a walkway between 13th and 14th, and ultimately cut through the Symphony site whenever that project gets solidified, and then ultimately connect to the Arts Center MARTA station. That's what it'll look like in about a year. So a big difference. You know, this was once described to us as the place where fun went to die. It looks a lot more fun now. And just focus in on those orbs, those spheres. They're going to be like these orbiting breadcrumbs that kind of beckon you down this corridor. And here's they are being fabricated right across town. So this is what they look like, being fabricated, and that's what they'll look like in place. So we're pretty excited to see this project come together. We're working with Seelig on another phase that's between 12th and 13th as a part of their Midtown Exchange project, which is going to be amazing as well. So more great things to come. North Area Station enhancements. We've done Art Center, we've done Midtown enhancements, now we're doing North Avenue. These are going to be light touch, hopefully quick wins. There were, you know, some crumbling stone walls that really weren't doing much for anybody. We've covered those in wood. We just got a grant from the Project for Public Spaces. We were selected out of 190 some odd applicants for a $40,000 placemaking grant. And so we're going to put that to work with community input in terms of what would you like to see. And here's one of our big ideas, which is a shipping container that you could secure, use as staged for performance, spoken word, whatever. Just close it up when you're not performing. But there's this large hardscaped plaza right there, catty corner from Norfolk Southern's headquarters, that is another place where fun goes to die, and we're just trying to activate these spaces. We don't own the property. MARTA's being very, very cooperative as a partner, and so that's an exciting project as well. 10th Street Park, we just fenced it. It'll be under construction next week. It took a while, it took a year to get a sinkhole fixed on this project. This is in partnership with Dewberry. They've been a great partner to allow us to do this. We leased this property for $1 a year. And we are creating 3 rooms. The most distant room is a dog park. The middle room is going to be kind of a playscape, I guess you'd call it, and then the nearest one to 10th Street is going to be games. And we're going to program this space as well. I believe we're on a 12 to 13 week completion, so this one's going to go quick. And then you can look for more programming and event activation in this space as well. This is a team sport. We are all in the game. And to that end, you know, one of the things that we use to define community priorities is our community survey. These are done every 3 years, 2013, 2016, 2019, 2022. And what a difference between 2019 and 2022. This will be fielded the end of August. We're working with Julie Grantier. Julie, I think you are here somewhere. There you are. Julie is a Midtown resident. Her business is a Midtown Alliance member. She's helping us develop this survey. If you got ideas on things you'd like us to survey, we'd welcome any of your ideas. We try and survey the same questions so we can see how things change over time, but we got opportunities to add some more survey questions. info@MidtownATL gets to the right inbox, and we send that wherever it needs to go. We are looking to recruit building captains, office captains, to help get the word out about this survey instrument. We had really great response last time. We want to duplicate that. So there are stations where you can drop a business card and you can sign up to be a captain. You can find them on the tables in the back. If you don't see it, just hand your business card to one of our Midtown Alliance employees. There's Brian holding up his card back in the back. That's where you can go if you'd like to help us get the word out on this survey. It's really important stuff. Your responses are what defines our priorities. So how our streets and sidewalks function and feel is a critical component. We're going to move into that category, which is an all-encompassing category here. We've got 8 transportation projects that are ready to tip into procurement, into bidding and construction. They have been long delayed. And then I've also got an update for you on some projects that are in the planning phase. So we're going to kind of quickly move through this. But first, I think it'd be helpful to provide some context in terms of why are these our priorities and why are we doing the projects that we do. So we go back to our Midtown Community Survey from 2019. This is what you said. Where should our priorities be in terms of our transportation priorities? And you can sum this slide up into 4 words, which is what we call our work plan, which is happy people on foot. If you can create happy people on foot, then you have pretty much solved the urban enigma. How do you create an exceptional place? The rest of the stuff's going to work its way out. But interestingly, cars dead last. Maybe because 99% of the space between the curbs right now is dedicated for cars. And people feel like there's an opportunity to address that. So I would also indicate the lower left-hand corner, look at the number of survey responses to this question, almost 5,000. This is the kind of response that we're looking to get. So that's why we need your help in terms of getting the word out. Show you some maps. This is a micro-mobility network. Everything in light green is current, everything in dark green is what we are building. If you repurpose 8% of the lane miles in Midtown, you can create a connected multimodal network. And by that I mean bike lanes, scooter lanes, get the scooters off the sidewalk, etc. So this is a lot of what you're going to be seeing thematically in terms of the transportation priorities that we're trying to create here. Things like bike lanes, things like traffic calming measures, things like safe pedestrian crossings. To that end, new signals. We've got at least 17 new signals because safety is a key component of our transportation plan, and that's what you told us as well. So these signal installations are going to make it considerably more safe for pedestrians to get across the street. In some cases, they're going to strategically slow speeding traffic because I'm an unhappy person on foot when a car flies past me at 45 miles an hour. That's not the kind of urban environment we're trying to create. These are among the projects that we have that are pretty much ready to go. We have worked with the new administration, the Dickens administration. I will tell you that they have hit the ground running like no new mayoral administration I've ever seen on a multitude of issues. They're absolutely aware of what our priorities are. We were on the second floor at City Hall Thursday of last week talking about them. Things are still moving slower than we would like it. They know what we need, and I will tell you that we've made some recent progress as recently as the last 12 hours. Clady, we've got, what, 4 project management agreements? 4 in the last 12 hours. And we're waiting on 1 more. So we're off to the races, and I'll tell you really kind of what that means. It's going to be it's not going to be a snap your finger exercise. We've got an interim Atlanta DOT commissioner, as you may have heard. The DOT, the Department of Transportation commissioner, resigned effective July 1. There's an interim in place that we know and know well. We've already met with her, and I think she's already helping us. So much as I am loath to show you a picture of Juniper, the long-suffering Juniper project, that's going to be first out of the gate. Invitation to bid next month. Construction start Q4 of this year. Expensive project, extremely complicated project. Now we've got new development happening along the corridor, but nonetheless, it's going to happen. 15th Street extension. This is a street that does not exist today. We got GDOT to donate the right-of-way between West Peachtree and Williams to create a 15th Street. It'll take the pressure off of 14th Street. It'll reconnect the pedestrian grid, which is everything that we want to happen. It's got a lot of topo, it's got a lot of rock, another complicated project. Invitation to bid Q4 of this year. Construction in 15th Street Extension. Invitation to bid next month. Construction November of this year projected. Clady's nodding, so keep me honest here, Clady. 5th Street, this is Tech Square. A lot going on 5th Street. A lot of different modes that mix, a lot of pedestrians, a lot of cyclists, a lot of trolleys, a lot of buses. This will be a game changer of a project. Invitation to bid Q3 of this year. Construction as early next year as we can. Piedmont, this is a lighter touch streetscape improvement than Juniper. It'll go a little bit quicker. Invitation to bid Q4. Construction early 2023. And we got $2 million worth of intersection upgrades. I'm not going to even try and show you an image of those. They're scattered all the way through the district. That's construction early 23. This is Spring Street. You remember where at the north end of the district where Peach Street, dumps into Spring all the way to 17th Street. Invitation to bid Q4 of this year. Construction start Q1 of 2023. 10th Street Bridge. This is an expanded multimodal connection through 10th Street that allows cyclists to connect to the cycle tracks that are being built out on the Georgia Tech side. Another expensive, complicated GDOT right-of-way project. Invitation to bid Q4 of this year. Invitation to bid early 2023. I was getting a little ahead of myself. Collectively, these projects are over $30 million. They are fully funded. And those funding sources come from federal, from state, from city, and in some cases from private money. The Midtown Improvement District is responsible for about 1/3 of that $30 million, so $10 million is coming from the Midtown Improvement District. I will tell you that we are going to be challenged getting these projects built. Our projects tend to be complicated. They tend to be not as expensive as some of the large linear highway expansion projects you find across the metro region and the state. So there's a limited number of contractors that can take on these kind of projects. So we're going to be really strategic in terms of how we do the invitations to bid. They're going to follow what I just told you, but there are a limited number of contractors. Depending on who you ask, construction material costs are up 30% just in the last 12 months. So we're going to be putting alternates into some of these bid packages. We have, given the fact there's government money involved, there's limits to how much we can change a project once we bid it. And we're going to be doing our share of value engineering to get these projects delivered as high quality as we can. So this is going to be quite the exercise. I will say it really hurt us that these projects were delayed as long as they were, just getting through the city processes. But we're out now, we're almost out, and we're ready to hit the ground and expect some inconvenience in your future. It's a good kind of inconvenience. We are always in planning mode because all these projects take years of planning, take considerable input from the community, from impacted property owners, from public sector agencies, from public utilities. Everybody's got to weigh in. So I'm going to go through just some quick hits and some planning exercises. And I'm start in the south and work my way north. So we'll start with 10th Street since that's where we were. This is called the Central Midtown Connecting Plan. It's going to, you're looking, west is this side, east is this side. So it's going to connect to the 10th, east is that. You know what I'm saying. All right, sorry. East. Thank you. I'm compass challenged today. For some reason, it's flipped on I'm looking at a screen that's oriented differently to yours, so. And I haven't even had a beer. Anyway, this is going to be a connection plan. I mean, think about it right now. Here you have a nice bike lane runs right by Piedmont Park and then abruptly dumps everybody into traffic. Okay, so that's going to get fixed. So imagine that getting fixed down 10th Street. Then we jog over a little bit to the south, and then we go down Peachtree Place, and then we connect into this beautiful 10th Street bridge that you just saw a picture of. That's the kind of stuff that's happening with that project. Will be a 30% design to the city next month. It's repaving, it's bike scooter connections, traffic calming, protected intersection design, the kind of things you would expect from us. Moving north, 1 block north, there's 11th Street. Another really wide street with low traffic volumes, which to us just screams opportunity. There's an opportunity to repurpose underutilized roadway for more people-oriented design. If you just look across where 11th Street dumps into Peachtree Street, 65 feet of roadway to work with. That's a lot of roadway to work with to do different things. So here's some inspiration images of what you might see along 11th Street based on our conversations with stakeholders. It's a bike lane, it's lighting, it's other enhancements. It's a parklet on the northern side of the block between Peachtree and Crescent. This is a wonderful connection also to the Art Walk. We saw the image of the Art Walk with the big orbital breadcrumbs. This would be a kind of a cool project. It's early in the concept, but it's moving along. And what a difference. Next up, moving north, 15th Street corridor improvements. This is an improved east-west bike and ped connection from the Art Center station all the way to Piedmont Park, where the planned bike lane on Piedmont is going to intersect it. We just showed you a minute ago. It's a pretty complex corridor. It starts in a really dense urban district and it goes through Ansley, with really, really wide streets. Someone once mentioned you could see the curvature of the earth just looking across the street in Ansley Park, just because the streets are so wide. But we've gotten a lot of neighborhood input. I think it's about 60% design. We're trying to do a lot, but safe design space for bikes and scooter riders, intersection improvements, reduced congestion coming out of Ansley Park with the addition of a dedicated left turn phase with a traffic light, slower vehicle speeds. We're packing a lot into this project, but we're making progress. And we're closing in on 60% design on this project. So this is 15th Street now. I don't have an after rendering, but there's a lot of opportunity here. Moving right along, 17th Street. This is the last corridor planning that we'll talk about. It's just getting underway. It's really early. We're kind of just doing existing conditions analysis right now. It's got obvious needs, but man, that's a lot of opportunity there. 85 feet where 17th goes into Spring Street right there. It's confusing. You got a bus-only lane. I mean, there's a lot of tundra right there. Super wide sidewalks. You got Microsoft that's developed their major foothold right across the bridge. You've got Invesco and MetLife that's doing their development on the Midtown side. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to have a much more pleasant connection. So, along the same lines we just talked about, and a healthy dose of Miracle Grow, I might add. This is the kind of stuff that you might see as this comes into fruition, where the scope of the project is not immense. We're not going all the way through Atlantic Station, but this could make a real difference and make this a much more pleasant corridor to connect. It's only like 1,100 feet to get across this bridge, but it feels like it's about 10 miles if you walk it on a day like today. And so what can we do? Even placemaking opportunities along the way. So we're going to think creatively about this. So not a corridor, but this is a typical bus stop in Midtown. This is what bus stops look like today. This is an express bus stop on West Peach, I guess, right at North Avenue MARTA Station. We can do better. Was anybody out at like 5:30 yesterday? When it was raining sideways and about 30-mile-an-hour winds. Can you imagine waiting on the express bus? There's another bus stop. So we think we can do better. We've got a bus stop enhancement program that's pretty far down the road. no pun intended. Still looking for input, but you know, how can we make some of the coolest bus stops around? Use art, use placemaking. Because, you know, if you don't have shade, if you don't have protection, if you don't have a place to sit, if you don't have adequate lighting, I mean, there are times in Atlanta when it's dark at 5:30. So all these things go into the mix of how do you create an experience where you can capture that choice transit rider. There are 24 regional and local bus routes that connect in through Midtown. There are 33,000 free parking spaces at park and ride lots just on the MARTA system. So if you got a parking constraint in Midtown, there's a lot of people that could be taking transit that don't. How do we make that a much more pleasant transit experience beyond the rail transit stations? That's what this project is all about. And lastly, in planning, by the way, the bus stop enhancement program, we're going to concentrate on West Peachtree in spring, just put some examples out there, and then we're going to go from there. Curb management. That's a term I never even heard of 5 years ago. But think about what's happened in the last 5 to 7 years in terms of online deliveries, in terms of on-demand transportation, in terms of everything that's utilizing that curb. 80% of the curbs in Midtown are dedicated to either vehicle travel lanes or car parking. We've got insufficient loading zones to meet demand. Even when we've got off-street loading, a lot of times trucks they'll just stop in the travel lane because it's more convenient to the front door of the business. There's a public safety component. Marcus over there will tell you that of our stolen vehicles in Midtown, last year, 2/3 were illegally parked and either engine running or key fob in the vehicle while somebody did a food pickup or a food delivery or some other pickup or delivery. Now some of that's Darwinism, but this is no time to curb your enthusiasm for the curb. So, you know, there's a lot that goes into this. This is a project that we've done with our partners downtown. You know, even on-street parking metered spaces, 45% of the time, they're at full peak. That's the only time they're at full peak. They're not, there's no dynamic pricing. There's no enforcement, as I mentioned, of non-metered parking violations. So this is a study that's wrapping up. We're going to do a final report. But importantly, that report has got to talk about how do you enforce people to just pull up and stop in the roadway without any implications. How can we do automated enforcement? With all the technology we got, could we have cameras that snap a picture of a plate and send somebody a ticket? We've tried every signage in the world. Signage does not work in this arena. So, you know, we're going to need to dedicate some of these on-street spaces, I think, to loading where that needs to happen. So again, no time to curb your enthusiasm for the curb. Had to throw that in. More examples. Lastly, well, not lastly, activation programming and events. This is we just saw this a minute ago. This is the 15th Street Arts District Plaza on the Colony Square side. Earlier this summer, we sent out a survey. It said, what would you all like to do in terms of what events would you like to see? What programming opportunities would you like to see? What activations would you like to see and where? 650 people responded in about 2 weeks, which is pretty darn good. This was in the spring, and you know, the themes were, we want to eat, we want to drink, we like music, we like art, we like history, we like education. It was more specific than that, and we can have we've got the presentation offline in terms of what we learned, but we're taking that and we're applying it. So one of the applications was Jazz on the Plaza, which we did in May. It was very successful. We're going to bring it back when it's not 90 degrees in the fall and do it again. But it's an example of some of the things that we're doing. We've got other public spaces. You saw Commercial Row Commons that we just finished. That's going to be programmed. Look for a party to officially cut the ribbon on that, either on the 18th of August or the following week. The mayor's going to be there. It should be a fun time. The History Center is interested in partnering with us on events at Commercial Row Common. The Margaret Mitchell House is right there. You say you like history, you want to see things that have a historical and an educational component, so we're going to see what we can do there. 10th Street Park, same thing. It's 12 to 13 weeks under construction starting next week. Halloween comes to mind. I think we're going to start with a Halloween costume contest for dogs in the dog park. Or I guess you could dress up as a dog too and enter. But that should be ready to go by the 31st of October. So music, food, drink, that kind of thing. We've got a permit already, so we're working on that. Food truck Thursdays, every Thursday we're piloting this in Midtown because, again, the community survey said people would like more lunch options. And as we know, some of the restaurants have not been able to maintain open during lunch. And so we're having food truck. This is the one in front of MODA right across from the Woodruff Arts Center every Thursday. And there's also one on Peachtree Place right at the Midtown MARTA station. It's been pretty successful. People seem to have appreciated it. You can keep up with our events with our newsletter. Answering questions on our community survey are always welcome. We're always looking for good ideas. Artists in Residence. This is a really cool program. We've had it in place. It's almost been a year. This was an event that happened last month with Jamal Barber, who is the artist in residence at CODA. It was a community event where he just showed people some of how he creates his art. We have done our best to bring these artists in residence work to the streets. This is just large, super graphics on windows that are not utilized. We've done the same thing on street banners. George F. Baker III just finished this mural on this, I don't know, data center, I guess you call it. It's an AT&T building on Peachtree Place. And it has a big arrow that points to the MARTA station. And it was kind of a cool project. He was another artist in residence. So we're bringing more and more of this to out into the streets where people can see and appreciate it. We've got another mural that's going to happen at 10th Street that'll start in a week or so. So more to come. Councils. Philip's been meeting actively, or just most recently with commercial property owners, with residential property owners, with our hotel council. We have regular public safety quarterly meetings with public safety and security professionals around Midtown. If you want to plug in, event calendar is a great place to do it on our website. Please do. Public safety brings us to our last topic. By the way, we are having a community briefing on August the 3rd with our new interim police chief, Darren Shearbaum. Who's awesome. He's a Midtown resident, longtime Midtown resident, lives in Metropolis, has lived in Metropolis for a long time, used to be our Zone 5 commander, and I think he has a real good shot of being named the permanent police chief. But anyway, he will be available to answer questions. This is a virtual event, 45 minutes, and you can sign up for that. We'd love to have you, and I guarantee it'll be informative. I just saw him speak on Monday, and I learned a lot. He's a very gifted and knowledgeable person. There's some public safety handouts in the back. I'm going to continue to hammer this just because so many people don't believe it. This is violent crime in the city of Atlanta from 1990 through 2021. That is the number of violent crime incidents. Total violent crime. This is what's happened. I mean, I think this city should take a bow because they have decreased violent crime more than many other major cities across the country. Not to mislead you, homicide is up. Homicide continues to be up. Homicide is a very small percentage of violent crime. But if you just look at total violent crime, think also the city of Atlanta in 1990 had at least a third fewer residents, too. I mean, look at all the growth we've seen just since 1990, and this is the number of criminal incidents. So the number of incidents per resident or per worker or visitor to the city is down dramatically. Here's Midtown violent crime incidents, and that's just 2018 through end of year 2021. Just to give you a feel, this is 60,000 people on average here every day, whether you're a resident or a visitor or a worker. And here's the year-to-date 2022. That's through about a week ago, Marcus, is that about right? So 60,000 people showing up, 44 total violent crimes, 14 of which were what we call stranger on stranger. These are people that did not know each other, were not in a domestic relationship, or that weren't in a fight that escalated, where either one of them could have walked away. 14 total year to date in a region or in a district that welcomes 60,000 people a day. That's, to me, a helpful fact. It's not marketing, it's just a fact. And most of those stranger on strangers are pedestrian robberies, and as you can see from the headline, violent crime, total violent crime is down 27%. This year to this time last year. So that's another positive indicator. Property crime, so you just want to look at historic trends, that's what it looks like. Didn't really even go up during the pandemic. We had certain property crimes that spiked. Car theft, I mean, people driving off in other people's cars that tended to be illegally parked with the keys in them and there was a key fob in them. That one went up, but even that one's down. That car theft is down 37% year to date compared to last year. And car break-ins are down 17% year to date this year versus year to date last year. So we're seeing some progress. We're seeing some improved partnerships with some of our property owners. We're seeing more diligence in parking decks and parking lots. But there's good news here. And, these are facts. Lastly, I'll just briefly mention homelessness because this is the first year we ever piloted having a full-time person working every day with our unsheltered population in Midtown. And the reason why we did this was there's a lot of resources right now in homelessness. The city has gotten CARES Act money, they've raised private money, they've housed a lot of people. They're not working in Midtown because Midtown does not have the quantities of chronically unhoused people that other parts of the city have or that you see under overpasses. That's where their efforts are channeled. Nonetheless, we have people that have needs in Midtown. We wanted to make sure that their needs were fulfilled. We partnered with In-Town Collaborative Ministries to really use their expertise and their partnerships and their infrastructure and their masters of social work and their tools to help homeless people. The last time we did a point-in-time count of people that were sleeping overnight in Midtown was late 21. It was down a third from the previous count that we'd done in 2020, so that was a positive trend. And we've got 41 people that are currently enrolled through our partnership with In-Town on a path towards permanent supportive housing. And so there's not enough permanent supportive housing around. Some of that's going to be hotels that we use as interim solutions. But again, progress is being made. I think you can see it. Another interesting fact is that on average it takes 15 communications with someone who is homeless to get them to agree to an intervention where they would be housed. 15. I mean, there are people that are very comfortable on the streets and that's all they've ever known and that's where they'd like to be. So we're learning a lot in the process, but we're very pleased with our partnership with In-Town. And the city's making great progress too. I think they've housed 800 people in the last 18 months. And even the city's point-in-time count went down. I mean, that's a snapshot in time. It's one night a year when you count. A lot of the shelters were closed because of COVID, but 800 people were housed. And that was hotels, for the most part, that were picking up the slack there. Wow, I've talked a lot, but there's so much to talk about. So I'm going to conclude, and that is, everything I've talked about is all on our website. And we're continually putting more and more stuff on the website. We're trying to make it easy to navigate. Our news center is a great place to start. That is, I believe, among our most visited pages on the website. Brian, Ellie, Zach, we have a 3-person communication team that does the work of a 20-person communication team. Milestone, 30,000 Instagram followers this week. We hit the 30,000 milestone. So if you're an Instagram follower, thank you for your support. I think we're at 220,000 Twitter followers too, so something's going right. And then the resource page, man, you want to map, you want to study, you want to know what's happening with new development, this is the place to go. This is among the most visited website or webpage on our site as well. There's lots of great things to talk about. I could talk more, but I'm going to stop. We've got to keep up the successes, and one way to keep up the successes is we've got to keep challenging ourselves. And that's the theme of everything that we're doing is, okay, it's good. Many places would declare victory just based on $11.4 billion of new investment in Midtown just in 2015. $11.4 billion in 1.2 square miles just since 2015. But we know we can make it better. We know we can make people on foot happier, and that's what we're really going to continue to do. So with that, thank you very much for making the time to be here this evening.